How about Iraq? We went to Iraq, the Iraq War, for weapons of mass destruction. And the government, the culture, the political, industrial, whatever the heck is going on, somehow got everybody on board, even when there was no weapons of mass destruction there.
America. Fortunately, we have an independent media in this country who would tell us the truth.
The rallying around the president, around the flag, and around the troops clearly has begun.
And we're going to win!
You really have to be with the troops to understand that kind of adrenaline rush that they get.
I just want you to know, I think Navy SEALs rock.
The pictures you're seeing are absolutely phenomenal.
When my country is at war, I want my country to win.
Iraqi opposition has faded in the face of American power.
What you're watching here is truly historic television and journalism.
It was absolutely electrifying. They actually had to strap me in with my camera at the back of the plane.
An awesome synchronized killing machine.
You know, we all support the troops, but it was a bad war. No weapons of mass destruction, yet they got everybody to sign on. Democrats, Republicans, Ted Koppel, huh? It's a similar operation to make Kamala Harris a broken down, failed politician into the next president of the United States. I mean, literally a matter of 16, 17 weeks ago, this is what everybody knew about Kamala.
Swing voters don't like Harris, and focus groups conducted by the Democratic National Committee also found Harris rubs some people the wrong way.
When she doesn't like a question that she gets, she often deflects in a way that can seem defensive.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. That Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
So did she do anything to turn that around? Was there anything during her vice presidency pre-nomination that changed popular opinion? Nothing, zero. They just decided she's going to be the person, get on board, media, cooperate, and presto changeo, we have this amazing candidate.
Kamala Harris standing there as president of the United States, damn. Like I said, this could be bigger than Obama.
Kamala Harris has the energy they know it takes to defeat Donald Trump.
A phenomenal candidate, a ton of energy.
She had this great speech where she was talking about all these different things.
We have an incredible candidate that I know Kamala Harris is, she's going to win this.
I just felt goosebumps as I heard myself saying, that's Kamala Harris and she's going to be the next president.
I don't know if this is information operations, which is a military program, or psychological operations, which is an intelligence program. For this to happen virtually overnight with no other reason than they said so is really crazy, but not unprecedented. You know about Bob Woodward, right? I'm deeply suspicious about Bob Woodward. Guy's been around a long time. And some folks have actually written books that this guy may have been and may be an intelligence. Not right now, but look, very controversial. Let me go through it, all right? His new book is called War, and arguably there is an October surprise that will hurt President Trump. It's not going to. We went through this last night. The COVID material that he sent to Putin during COVID, right? Take a look.
Turn out of that new reporting from journalist Bob Woodward, his new book called War, the veteran reporter writing that during the early days of the pandemic, while it was raging here in the U.S., that then President Trump secretly sent a number of those rare COVID test machines to Vladimir Putin for Putin's personal use.
Nobody cares. It's fine. People do that. I told you last night, Nixon sent Leonid Brezhnev a Cadillac. But Bob Woodward, it's interesting. It's like he's the official chronicler and leaker of the deep state. He writes these books, usually about war. For George W. Bush, 2 books, flattering. Bush at War, Plan of Attack. For Obama, Obama at War. When it was time to write a book about Trump, he made sure it was a nasty book, Rage. He's been basically like Forrest Gump. It's almost too much of a coincidence that he's always in the right place at the right time. So back in 1972, he was a local reporter at the Washington Post, had just gotten out of the military about 2 or 3 years earlier, and then the biggest story in the world falls into his lap. And then before President Nixon even leaves office, they write this mega bestseller, All the President's Men. About a year and a half after that, the most famous actors in the world are playing Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, right? They got Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. And Nixon resigns. Nixon resigns. Now, this is not right. Yes, there are people who have written books that Bob Woodward and his ties to the intelligence community, because he worked in Navy intelligence, he was on active duty, had an association perhaps with Alexander Haig, another deep stater, chief of staff to Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon himself believes that it was a plot to take him out, that the whole Watergate operation, right, was conducted by the CIA.
Do you think there was or could have been a CIA conspiracy to remove you from office?
I don't know. I know many people think so. I would say that I've found it difficult to understand why the CIA, which apparently had advanced knowledge of the break-in, didn't inform me. I've found it difficult to understand how it could have been that at least two of those involved had CIA connections, and nevertheless that it was not brought to my attention as far as the break-in occurring. I must say, too, the CIA had motive. It was no secret that I was dissatisfied with the CIA, with its reports, and particularly with their appraisals of Soviet strength and our other problems around the world.
You think they feared you?
No question about it, and they had reason to. I was going to shape up that organization and the Defense Department, the whole government for that matter, but particularly that one. At one occasion I said I thought we could cut a third of the people out of the CIA and do a better job.
Wow. So what do you think the swamp is doing now when people like Elon Musk, they're talking about cutting the federal government, helping Donald Trump cut it by 80%, not just the Central Intelligence Agency, all of it, state, agriculture, education, energy. What do we need with this stuff? What is their reaction? What are they going through right now? And that brings me back to what the government may or may not be doing right now. I mean, how do they make Kamala Harris so popular, but fake popular? This is Mr. Colby, William Colby, early 1970s. He ran the Central Intelligence Agency, and I didn't know this. I didn't know that he publicly admitted to this, paying reporters, domestic reporters, on the Central Intelligence Agency's payroll.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Wow. Again, Woodward and Bernstein, what do you think the chances are, right? A lot of questions here. And they're still out there chronicling and trying to take down President Trump when he was in office, trying to prevent him from becoming president again. It's not working. All right. So it is not working, right? Trump is winning and she is losing, and she's not impressing anybody. So what are we going to hear a lot about over the next 3.5 weeks? January 6th? Yeah, this, the whole threat to democracy stuff. Not true. There are so many questions about January 6th, right? The January 6th committee was a scam, all right? They didn't even ask the right questions. No, none of the questions that needed to be asked did they engage in. Ashley Babbitt, the rest, and this, I'm sorry, fraud of a witness. What was her name again? Cassidy Hutchinson. This is a great big joke. It really is. She's on the speaking tour with Liz Cheney and her other girlfriends.
He had spent, at that point, nearly 5 years, 6 years, convincing good, hardworking American people that they were under siege, that they were under threat. But that day showed, in my view, that he is the threat, that Donald Trump is the threat, that Donald Trump put us under siege.
Republican elected officials, I should say, tend to whitewash the events of that day. In the immediate aftermath, so many people were united and disgusted by his behavior and wanted to turn the page on Donald Trump. And so if you would have told me that all these years later that he would be the Republican candidate for president, I wouldn't believe you.
We have to have two parties that believe in the Constitution. That's not where we are right now.
If there's one image that I hope that my future children, God willing, get to see from this election cycle, it's that political cowardice does not win, and that women with spines of steel, like Ms. Cheney here, are saving our country.
All right, up with women, up with democracy, down with Trump. That conversation took place this week in Pennsylvania, right? A critical swing state. I don't believe, and neither will you, when we go through it, and I've gone through it before, the overwhelming evidence that this is a fraud perpetrated on the American people. We don't know the first thing about what really happened on January 6th. So Cassidy Hutchinson was basically a secretary in the White House who was thoroughly MAGA after January 20th. We have proof of that. Listen to, this is when they were getting their story straight, getting ready to go on the road. That something about the tone of these people, these so-called Republicans who are now standing up against Trump, just take a look.
And Cassie, you faced, I mean, you lost friends and all of that, but I mean, you faced death threats. I mean, you had to leave town and get security.
I moved to Atlanta for several months.
You had...
They get a kick out of everything. This is a game. It goes on like this.
From there, they were, you were able to meet in the basement of the Capitol and
with Liz Cheney.
Yeah. So
in that she had a little basement office.
Yeah.
No windows, down an unmarked corridor.
It was all very secretive. Literally, it was all very secretive too.
It's so funny and amusing, isn't it? I thought this is there's something wrong with all of this. Keep going.
I honestly thought that was going to be the end of it. I thought that, you know what, I don't have anything that's super compelling. I didn't talk to the president on that day. So I thought, I'm going to cooperate, of course, because I'm sympathetic to the cause, but this will probably be the end of it, and I'll point her in the right direction. And during that conversation, I said, you know who you really need to talk to next is Cassidy Hutchinson.
She probably will do it. She doesn't have anything else going on. Yeah, she'll do it. Something very wrong. It gets worse.
And playing that incredible role you played.
Mr. Cipollone said something to the effect of, please make sure we don't go up to the Capitol, Cassidy. Keep in touch with me. We're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if we make that movement happen.
It was the emotional, dramatic highlight of that entire committee.
I appreciate you saying that.
You see what I mean? There's just something so thoroughly wrong. Now, during the January 6th hearing, there was a note that was presented as evidence that she claimed she wrote. And they put this up in front of the whole world. Take a look at this note if we have it, right? You see that? Now, it's going to zoom in. Can you see that? That's a man's handwriting. She claimed it was hers in front of the whole world. Nobody bothered to check. I did. It's not her handwriting. This is one of a million things that's totally wrong about this whole big fake January 6th, all right?